Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Inferno cast. I am Inferno Fox, host of this podcast, as well as the Inferno Fox gaming channel. We are here on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and more. Joining me not only is my fantastic, wonderful crew that y'all see every week, we also have a special guest, and he is our guest especially for our very uh, special topic. But let's go ahead and introduce him. We have FeralInferno of the YouTube channel of the same name. And I'd really recommend his content. If you really like great video game content, not only like the kind of stuff that I do, but also like live gameplays and even a lot of really good shorts and everything like that. I can't recommend his stuff enough. Definitely make sure you check it out. We're going to have links to everything in the description below or wherever, whomever you receive your podcast from. Feral, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Fox, and thank you for the kind words as well. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Joining him and us also is Hillbilly Hardicus. He is a good friend of mine, of ours, and our resident Hill Slut, and also resident Final Fantasy expert. If I'm not going to know something, Hardicus is going to know that. Know whatever I'm missing. Hardicus, thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, geez, you really put me on the spot with the expert thing. That's definitely a big lie right there. But thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Hey,
Not
wait a
a
minute. He lies about me every week with Fortnite. So welcome
Yeah,
to the club.
I kind of figured.
We also have Jason the 13th of the YouTube channel, Jason the 13th. Thank you so much for joining us. You got any videos or anything queued up?
Actually, I did get a chance to record this last weekend. I just got to finish the thumbnail and put up the next chunk of the gameplay and shiny hunting for Pokemon.
Excellent. And you can catch a lot of really good Pokemon, various gameplays, as well as maybe a little bit of Zelda. Again, that's Jason the 13th on YouTube. We also have my partner and partner in crime, Jamie Owls. We just collaborated on a video that just came out on Inferno Fox Gaming just this past Sunday, about 2 days ago, as of the recording of this video. Games that we're currently playing and going to play, and probably going to be a monthly feature. Her and I are going to be going over our games and maybe other special guests who might journey with us in person, visit us in person. We'll see. But Jamie Owls, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I look forward to learning more about Final Fantasy and knowing that this is your favorite game. I'm happy to be a part of this topic.
And absolutely happy to have you with us for those reasons as well.
Mhm.
And next up, we of course have Simbu Darkfang, and he's a primary actor over at Basement of the Dead. Really important announcement regarding Simbu. I'm gonna let him take it away. Simbu, let us know what you got going on.
Well, I'm always glad to be here talking about the final countdown. No. So coming soon in the next couple weeks, over on the Scurryface official Twitch page, I will be hosting a half of the SFWF, which is the Scurryface Wrestling Federation, where we have taken about 60 of the haunt reps within the Scurryface organization. We have painstakingly recreated them in WWE 2K24 as best as we could. And we are creating an entire universe to where only SF will fight each other, but you won't see anybody like a Roman Reigns or a Cody Rhodes or anything like that. So this is going to be this is a whole imagination thing that Wizzo, one of our reps, has been doing for quite some time on our Facebook page. And he has some big plans. I've been helping him for quite some time now with the creative side of things behind the scenes as his Paul Heyman wise man counsel. So he was impressed with my show this past Sunday that I did for him. And so was Tyler, the owner. We talked with Tyler, and we got it all set up, and we're all getting ready to go. We just got a few I's to dot, T's to cross, and I won't give too much away. So follow Scurryface Twitch as well as Scurryface on Facebook and catch those live shows because they are a lot of fun.
Yeah, they absolutely are. I can't recommend these live shows and the content that Simbu is a part of. Links to that also are going to be in the description below for this particular content. So if you're looking for a really good time for that combines the not only video games and gameplay like that, but also like the WWE aesthetic, absolutely recommend that you check that out. So thank you for that, Simbu. It's definitely going to be really exciting. And last, but not certainly least, we have Stormrosesky of the Twitch and YouTube channels of Stormrosesky. Storm, thank you so much for joining us. Hope you're doing well. And what kind of videos and stuff you got coming?
Oh, thank you for having me. Next up, because I've recorded some gameplay of my own gameplay to put together my favorite video games. That has been
Nice.
a long time coming, but it has taken, playing those bits of games and making clips of them myself. The only one that is left is Fortnite, and that's not a problem. But other than that, I'm glad to be here and excited to learn about Final Fantasy because I know of what I know of it is through you and your brother, my lovely better half. He played another he played a remake recently on the PlayStation, but not nothing too extensive. So I'm excited to just sit back and listen to you all inform me about this stuff.
Definitely, and excited to have you here with us. And as we've mentioned within the introductions themselves, this is the All Things Final Fantasy VI podcast episode, and this is really special because as of the recording of today, April 2nd of 2024, 30 years ago, this original title released in Japan. We in North America didn't get the Ted Woosley translated version until October, I believe, but for all intents and purposes, this is the official release date. And it's something that I'm just super excited about because of the many years and everything. Regarding Final Fantasy VI itself, this is the first time that the series creator Hironobu Sakaguchi didn't direct it. Instead, he had more of a sort of like a producer or executive producer credit on it. The directing credits went instead split between Yoshinori Katase and Hiroyuki Ito. And Katase, we would go on to direct other Square Enix games, little known titles, games like Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy X, Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, just those millions upon millions of game sellers. Story-wise, though, with 6, it's unique in that it takes the series out of that sort of not high fantasy, but that kind of that fantasy element that the first 5 entries really had, and puts them in like a more modern, maybe Victorian, or dare I say steampunk world, because generally anybody thinks of 6, they think of steampunk. The story itself is about a powerful force called magic not being seen for nearly over 1,000 years until a power-hungry empire goes hunting for it. Final Fantasy VI was also has the largest amount of characters in the series at that time that were playable. And while only 4 can go in a party at one time, not counting like party switching shenanigans, there are 14 of them total. And again, also not even counting guest characters, because there's like at least 2 plus, like Leo and Bannon. But let's open this up and just ask our crew here, have you played Final Fantasy VI at all? If so, what system or console did you first play it on? Have you played any versions? Let's ask our guest of honor here. Feral, have you played Final Fantasy VI at all?
I don't know. I might have played it before. I mean, I might have played it on Super Nintendo, or maybe on the PlayStation, or maybe on the Game Boy Advance. I don't know. I might have played it a few different ways, possibly. But yes, I have played Final Fantasy VI, or in North America when it came out was Final Fantasy III as we knew it back then. This is my original cartridge that I got from Sun Electronics for $89.99, the low price back in the summer of '95. which is like, I think almost $200 equivalent today.
Sheesh.
And it's crazy too. In Japan, it was 111,400 yen, which equates to roughly about 110 or $115, which again, with inflation would be like 220 or $210. So it's crazy. Like we complain about the $70 games now, but these games, like, yeah, Chrono Trigger, I think sold for 80 or 90 too.
It did. Yeah, Chrono Trigger, Mega Man X3 was another one that sold for a lot. I think maybe Killer Instinct was a fairly expensive one as well.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
Hardicus, how about you? Have you played Final Fantasy VI at all?
I have played Final Fantasy VI. Just like Feral there, I've got all 3 of those copies he has. I thankfully did not pay that much because I got them when they first came out. But yeah, I've played it on all 3 of the ones that Feral has also.
Nice. And Jason the 13th, how about you?
Unfortunately, I've only played one version of Final Fantasy VI, and that was Game Boy Advance. And I know I did not complete the whole game, so
Nice. It's still a really good version of it. A
Mhm.
lot of the translation issues were gone. It's probably out of all of the advanced series of all 4 of those games, I think that one was probably the best well done in my opinion. Although I'm not a huge fan of the extra dungeons really. And Jamie Owl's Storm, I know you both had said that you hadn't played this entry.
Mhm.
Jamie Owls, I know you've played and beaten 8, and you've
Mhm.
started 10 a little bit. And Storm, I don't believe you played Final Fantasy at all. This
I've
one.
none of them, so I can't comment to anything. So total learning experience, but it makes me want to play. If that,
Mhm.
they're on the catalog to play.
Nice.
There we go.
And then Simbu, I don't believe you've played any of these old school Final Fantasies. Although let's point out the fact that even if you haven't, you did play to completion the remake for Super Mario RPG. That's important.
Yes, I did. I played it to completion. I haven't done all the extra levels and bonus material stuff in Super Mario RPG, but I have saved Mushroom Kingdom. And hey, all I gotta say is I love playing as Cloud in Final Fantasy VI.
There you go. There you go. He's got the hacked copy. He's got the hacked copy. No,
Yeah, the one with Voltron that comes and saves everybody.
There you go. Although that's in the beginning, and Voltron, the big mech, ends up nearly destroying the town trying to search for the power. But it's back a little bit back with the Sumo RPG. That is again really commendable because I know Simbu, you'd mentioned that you're not a huge fan of the turn base, and there is a little bit of the timing based action with Mario RPG, but there's a lot of guts to Mario RPG that a lot of the foundation of it is based in like the Final Fantasy games. So it's really you've got the guts, you got the background there. You could technically do it if you were so inclined, but there's no pressure. No pressure. You do have the ability to play it currently because the 6th entry is one of those that have been ported like a number of times, as you saw with the hands of Feral, if you've been watching on YouTube. If you're listening to all things audibly, he is holding up the box copy of Final Fantasy VI on the Game Boy Advance, the physical cartridge for 3 US, and the entire CD holder slash box for the Final Fantasy Anthology, which contains 5 and 6. So very nice. So there were those, and then there was also the mobile iOS version of it, which was essentially like a Game Boy, the Game Boy Advance version, but with controversial sprites. We'll say because they're like hyper colorful and kind of rounded. And now the fully not remaster, but it's like the pixel remaster version because it's like widescreen. The music is absolutely phenomenal. Sprites are pretty good, probably a nice amalgamation. and that is currently available on all major consoles, PC, Steam, PS4, 5, the Switch, but not the Xbox. So sorry, Xbox fans, you can't play Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster. Although if you got an Xbox, you might already be treading the PC territory. Probably already have a computer, so you could play it on Steam if you were so inclined. Feral, have you been interested in doing the Pixel Remaster?
All right, so this is where I'm probably gonna be the bad guy, I guess, a little bit. But no, I'm not actually interested in playing it as a somewhat of a purist kind of guy when it comes to these games and the remasters. And it's actually goes back to a problem I had with the GBA version. Really, was that they did start taking a few things out of Final Fantasy VI as we went along. Whether it was for rating systems or whatever the reasons they may have done it, there are a few scenes that have been either altered or removed. And one is a very, very powerful scene with Celis. And I don't want to spoil anything too much because I don't know who's played and not played it, but there's a scene that really shows when we get introduced to Celis, the brutality of the Empire. And they took that out. And I think in a way it also kind of hurts her character because it showed just how strong she was and how she overcame things that happened in her life and with the Empire. And for them to water that down, it really kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But that's some people say, my friends say, like, that's kind of a dumb reason not to play it because it does look great. I will say the graphics look great, and I've heard the music; it sounds absolutely tremendous. But if I played through it, man, getting into that scene would really bother me. That's gone.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if there was anything else that was changed or removed, because it's essentially how the Game Boy Advance one was story beat wise. But then of course it removed all of the extra content, like the extra dungeons, which I like. I felt like all the extra dungeons were superfluous, but I am apparently in the minority with that viewpoint. But
Yeah, those extra dungeons, for me, I mean, it's cool they had it in the GBA version, and I think you said it was in the mobile ports as well.
yep.
And because I didn't play the mobile ports, but it's cool that we have those extra dungeons. But I'm actually with you on that. I'm not really a big fan of the extra dungeons. Same with the Chrono Trigger on the DS. I wasn't really a fan of the extra because it felt like tacked on extra
Yep.
content. It felt like filler from Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball Z. That's what it kind of felt like. They go, oh, okay, it's here, but it's not really supposed to be here. That's how it kind of felt for me. But I'm with you. I'm with you on that. But I think it's actually kind of nice to have like the different versions have their own special little different things. Like Pixel Remaster's got like the extra opera, the extra flair to the opera scene that I've seen. And then GBA's got the extra dungeon, and then the SNES version's got the pure, mostly pure. I mean, you guys have to go to the Super Famicom version to really get the pure experience. But I don't know Japanese, so I can't play that one. And then of course the PlayStation one's got the super extra long loading times like
Yes.
after every battle, and even going into the menu. So that's an absolutely fantastic addition to the PlayStation One version. So it's kind of cool to have like the different versions have something unique to each one, I guess.
Yeah, I remember when I used to work at one of our retail stores called Micro Center, where on 1 hour lunch I would take the portable little PS1 with the little handheld screen and throw Final Fantasy Anthologies 6 in there and just play during my lunch hour. And one of our coworkers, Josh, was like mesmerized, like, is that Final Fantasy 6? Are you really playing that? And just because it's not something that you were used to seeing at the time. And I'm like, gosh, what is that, like 20 years ago, 21, 22 years? God, ugh. I'm dating myself here because even I was still fairly young if I'm continuing to date myself. uh Hardicus, would you have any interest in doing the Pixel Remaster version of 6 at all?
I am interested in it. Thankfully I have the memory of a goldfish, so I didn't even remember the extra dungeons in the Game Boy one or you know, certain scenes I probably would not have remembered. So, Feral educating me on that kind of lessens it a little bit, but I'm still interested in playing it. So yeah, it's on my list to get. It just, but that backlog just never stops. The other thing I had though, Feral, DBZ filler. I mean, Piccolo driving a car. I mean, that's essential stuff, man.
Because you need to see them get their driver's licenses. I mean, come on, you can't expect to fly everywhere.
I did enjoy that. I remember it's funny you brought that up. I did enjoy that 'cause I do like Piccolo. He's one of my favorite characters. So that was actually a pretty fun filler. Maybe not so much the filler with Bulma during the Frieza fight, though. Maybe that one
God.
could have
Oh yeah,
not had all that stuff. But
Or
absolutely. Some of
Bulma
the filler
having
is very
the
bad.
chasing after the Dragon Ball for two episodes with the
Oh.
Frieza Force,
yes.
or the fake planet Namek, or the
Oh, I forgot about Fake Planet Namek. Forgot about that.
or the Gohan and the orphan kids in the beginning of the Saiyan saga. Oh my God, it really made an argument for Dragon Ball Z Kai, but then again, it's Dragon Ball Z Kai. Yikes. Getting back to 6 though, Jason the 13th, if you had a friend or family or loved one that decided to gift you with a physical copy of the Pixel Remaster Final Fantasy, would you or could you see yourself playing that version of 6?
Actually, I could see myself playing it again because, like I said, I did actually play a good chunk of it on the Game Boy, and it would bring back some memories of that at least from when I was playing those. But yeah, I could see myself playing it.
Yeah, it's really such a Farrell did make some really good points about the differences between the versions, but I still feel I'll save my controversial point about the Pixel Remaster for as we near the end of the cast here.
See,
But
for me, I don't know those differences because I only played the Game Boy one. So
regarding some of the interesting things regarding the story beats, as Farrell had said, some of the differences when Celeste is introduced as a character. We're going to start getting into some spoilers. So Mark, at this point, you've been warned, though, again, the game is 30 years old. So you're warned. Are you guys, you ready? Jason the 13th, if you're going to play this game again for all the way to the end, make sure you plug your ears. So
does this work?
there you go. So at the end of the game, when the entire ensemble cast sacrifices themselves to regenerate the planet Earth, we see the world 500 years in the future. No, that's else. More general Final Fantasy question, and I'm going to be bugging you guys up at the top of the screen again for y'all watching on YouTube, because this is a Final Fantasy centric. How strong a story does this 6th entry have compared to some of the other series entries like 7 and 10? Because 7 and 10 are known to have very strong story centric plot lines and character driven catalogs. Hardicus, I'm going to call on you. I'm going to be a pain in the butt to you. What are your thoughts about the story for 6 compared to like other Final Fantasy games?
Story for me was excellent. I mean, you've got some, as Farrell touched on a little bit, like, some kind of brutal scenes in there. You've got some absolutely amazing scenes like the opera scene. It kind of went back and forth between some, like, when Kefka poisoned the town, another brutal scene. I mean, that's one reason I absolutely love this game, is that you kind of never knew what was going to happen next. I mean, granted, I was a teenager when I first played it, so, but like, the big thing for me, and Jason, big spoiler here, technically the bad guy wins. I mean, to me, that's phenomenal. That was such a big thing for me back then. It was, it doesn't all and everyone's happy in the end. Everyone's, smiles and kitten farts. The bad guy won. I mean, he may have died at the end, but at the end of the day, the bad guy did win in that game.
Yeah, and it's a whole thing where that you have to rebuild and try and like get back to where, because it's not only that, but you essentially lost everybody that you spent that entire game up to that point getting and recruiting and everything. And it's like you're back to square one, but with a different character than you like started the game with. So it can be really jarring, really jarring, especially if you haven't developed that character or used that character very much either. So uh one of the things with that, Farrell, what are your thoughts before I move on to something else, story wise with six compared to others in the series?
Yeah, that's a great question. And thinking about that, here's what I'll say. The first half of Final Fantasy VI is stronger than probably, in story wise, is stronger than any game in the series, maybe of any RPG. The first half of the game. The second half of the game, not so much. Second half of the game is a little bit more open world, and there's less story. It has its merits, don't get me wrong. It has its merits having the open world, but with open world, what we typically see is that, story and character development starts to get sacrificed a little bit. So the first half of the game, before the bad guy wins, as Hardicus put it, was absolutely tremendous, on the edge of your seat with the story, the character development, absolutely amazing, especially for a cast that large. So I mean, up to that point, it's 12 characters, and I would say 11 of them are very fully developed in characters that you care about or make you laugh or that you want to use in your party. And when they force you to have different characters on your team, whereas in the world of Ruin, you get to select your characters, which is cool. But when you you have all those different characters on your teams, it's a lot of RPGs like, oh man, I got Edward on my team. Oh man, I would rather not have this character on my team, or these characters you just don't like. I remember Breath of Fire 3, there was Momo. I always go back to Momo. Like, oh, they force Momo on your team all the time, and she misses with her cannon all the time. It drove me nuts. Final Fantasy 6, man, all these characters, I loved using all of them. There wasn't one, even Umaro, who was a weird character. He was cool. He still had his cool parts to him because he was he was like the strongest character strength wise. So I mean, there was so many cool characters in it that you really got to know and care about. And for them to do that with 12 characters in the first half of the game was simply amazing.
Yeah, that's a good point where you really had a lot of strong character development, and it's really introducing a lot of different characters at you as you're sort of progressing and everything. And this, of course, again, during the SNES pixelated era where it's not any, it's different when you're playing a game like Final Fantasy X where it's like a living movie with voice acting and everything like that. But like, given the limitations, it really is quite impressive. And gameplay wise, it's a great, it really is a tale of two games where half of it is in a way a linear hallway, and then the other half is, as Farrell said, sort of that open world. Okay, world opens up. You do of course have to progress and have at least the total of three characters before you go searching for friends. But from that point on, you could technically go and challenge the last boss if you wanted to. Although I don't know why you would want to. I mean, you could. It's not like Breath of the Wild where you could cheese it unless you munchkined and grinded your characters. Uh, all crazy obligatory nerd slang aside, that's a really good point. I really think the story beat wise, I think 10 might give it a really good run for its money. Uh, Although I'm still like addicted to the idea of how many plot twists and curves that tend through at you, the player. 7, just the level you had the 12 characters in 6, but 7 you had like 7 or 8 playable characters, but the level of depth with the 6 of them, and especially like Cloud, Tifa, Aerith, and maybe even to a lesser extent Barrett. Like it was really crazy how much they had that. But you mentioned Breath of the Wild 3. Any other RPG games, Feral RPG, JRPG, you feel has such a strong story to this?
You know, I would say strong story wise, that's kind of, I would say Breath of Fire 4 was another strong story that's in comparison to it. That was a really strong story. Lufia 2 as well, which is also on the Super Nintendo, I think is a good comparison. Final Fantasy 4 DS, I think that really fleshed out this. I thought it was a great story on SNES, but the DS version really, really brought out that story. So I think those are the ones that are kind of comparable to Final Fantasy 6 in terms of quality, at least in my opinion. And I've got a weird sense of interest, I guess, when it comes to the stories. But those are the stories I really, really enjoyed. And Final Fantasy VI is right up there with them. Chrono Trigger as well. Chrono Trigger has its own problems with the silent protagonist, though. So I would say Chrono Trigger's story is not exactly its strongest point. It's really more the gameplay and the character design. But Final Fantasy VI, though, in comparison to those other ones, it's like the World of Light storyline it's right up there, like one of the best storylines in all JRPGs, at least in all video games for FeralInferno anyways.
And Simbu, I'm going to bug you with this question. So we've been talking about discussion about Final Fantasy VI's story. You've got a really great knack and background with like Western RPGs, stuff like Skyrim, but especially like Oblivion. Regarding games like that are like Western RPGs or even RPG-esque, which one would you say is that you've played would have the like strongest story?
Well, and most people who know me are most likely going to hear three words out of my mouth, and that would be Horizon Zero Dawn. No, I'm kidding. Obviously, RPG-esque sort of a game. It's more of the action adventure genre, but God of War has a fantastic story to it. The original games, it's a beat 'em up. It's more of a beat 'em up kind of thing. But like as I've said before in previous episodes, it's a bit of a Souls-like before Souls-like was a thing, if that makes sense. Because again, with a lot of the boss battles and stuff, you have to memorize attack patterns. You have to, and a lot, unlike a lot of other games, God of War's the boss battles can be very punishing. So the first, again, getting back to the topic at hand here, the first few God of Wars, not such a real in-depth emotional story other than I am Kratos and I'm going to kill all the, gods of Greece. Once you get to the 2016 God of War, once you get to the Norse God of War, then you get this more fleshed out, more deep, more emotional connection to Kratos, especially myself being a father, because he's become a dad. He's had a wife. He's been married. He left, Greece to get away from all of this. He left Olympus to get away from everything and start over and live in peace. And then, what comes knocking at your door but hell? So, and of course now he's playing through the whole thing with his son Atreus, who Storm and I both want to strangle the kid, but unfortunately there was no option in the game to do that.
Not yet.
But yeah,
DLC.
DLC.
Yeah, DLC. So somebody's probably got an iOS or a Google Play Store game where it's just strangling Atreus the entire time, like Homer does to Bart.
Storm, would you agree with Simbu in regards to like how God of War is probably one of the strongest story-based games? What is your strongest story-based like RPG or even RPG like game that you've had?
You know, I will agree with Simbu. It's probably I had to look up what the Souls Light was real quick because I was like, what is that again? It's been it's been a day. It was with students today, so it's been a day. My brain is mush. I would agree. It's pretty strong as far as storytelling, and the battles, at least some of the Valkyrie in the God of War original were Valkyrie. Yeah, this is the Valkyrie, sorry. Learning the patterns to fight them and stuff definitely helped because some of the boss battles now in Ragnarok, forget it. There are some of the berserkers I've not tried to fight anymore because it just gets so annoying and bad that it makes me mad at the game, and I don't want to do that because I am in love with both of those games. So I'm a little biased on opinion on them because I think they're great and it sucks you in story wise, and I like being sucked into that. So I'm not just feeling like, oh, I'm just playing this game where I gotta beat something up, because if I want to do that, that's Mortal Kombat. I love Mortal Kombat for that. If I just want to, bloody gory mess, go beat something up, I have that. But God of War gives a better story. So Feral over there did an excellent job on selling Final Fantasy for me. The way he was saying everything about the story is like, oh wow, wow, really? You're sitting at the edge of your seat, really? I need to give it some time.
And we should also mention that the Pixel Remaster version has what are known as boosters in it, where you can turn on or off the random encounters. You can do 2 times, 4 times experience points to level up your characters quickly, so it's not too hard. You can do that with the gold. You can do that with the magic earning system. So it in that way they've tried to make the newest version or port of it most accessible for individuals to really just enjoy the story if they wanted to,
So what
and
that
strategy
means
guides
is,
too.
so what that means, I won't suck at it.
Exactly. That's what I was there. Like, oh, really? You mean I won't get terribly frustrated and be like, all right, I'm done.
I won't die a lot.
Exactly. Exactly. I'll come back to it, but
Or,
dying is not fun. As
or,
fun.
or you could be like me and masochistic and do a low level run with it. When it came out on the Switch, I did the experience booster at 0.5 times, and fighting the last boss of the game when you're at level 23, it sucks. Where a single attack will drain almost all your health for one or more of your guys at once. Yeah, that sucks. It's hard and demoralizing, and actually dying in a game that you've played so many different times. That's your favorite game of all time. Yeah, a little demoralizing, but that's the situation you put yourself in, and I'm saying you, second person being me. Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
fun.
Who hurt you?
That poor thing. But before you go on, the RPGs that I've played, besides Super Mario RPG, the other one more recently, Sea of Stars.
Feral knows that one a little bit, right, Feral? You know that one a little bit.
Yes, I do. I played it live on the channel, and I have to the right of me, I can't reach it, but it's the Japanese special edition. So I've got the US special edition on the way and the regular retail version as well. So I may have sunk some money into it.
That's awesome. It definitely well worth it. It's a great game.
So you quadruple dipped.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I got digital on the PlayStation 4 as well. So yeah, quadrupled it. Yeah.
Oh, nice. So one of the cool things with Sea of Stars is it's sort of that play on like the whole classic JRPG thing, and sort of modeling after games like Chrono Trigger and Mario RPG, and you can't have those without Final Fantasy VI. You like what I did with that segue there? 6 is a classic JRPG right down to its bones, and up to and including its turn-based battle system, initiated by random encounters, something that a lot of people these days don't like. They don't care for the whole random encounter thing, which is interesting. Jason the 13th, what do you remembering when you played it on the Game Boy Advance? What are your thoughts about the battle system in 6 as a whole? And based on what you remember, how hard was 6 compared to other entries
Ooh.
in Final Fantasy?
Oh, now that's a tricky one. I don't know about the difficulty wise. I can't remember how difficult the game was. Turn-based wise, I play Pokemon like there's no tomorrow, and that's all turn-based. So I'm so for turn-based games, and I find myself kind of when it's not the turn-based, not liking the fighting as much. But yeah, difficulty wise, if I probably would have just grinded it out to beat stuff. So grinding my characters and like I said, being Pokemon, I know that grinding all too well. So
Yeah, that's a whole thing with JRPGs is the whole grinding
like
aspect.
yeah.
Hardicus, what about you? What are your thoughts about the 6's battle system compared to others in the series?
Personally, I love turn-based battles. 6 was excellent. I mean, even as it started to get, start to shift a little bit later on, like with, I don't exactly remember what 8, 9, and 10s were, but I don't remember that being vastly different. But like the new ones, where it's just a button masher. I really have no desire to play any of the new ones anymore because of that change.
Yeah, depends on which one is new, like new, like is it 15, 6, well, shoot, 15 is not even new anymore, I guess. 16 with it being a Neo type game and whatnot. I'm kind of with you guys. I did play to completion 16. Well, it depends on what you call completion. Like completing and platinuming it. No, I did play to beat it and do a number of the side quests. Yes, okay. But yeah, I'm with you guys. I do lean a lot more heavily towards turn-based. I literally just finished Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and that being an action led vehicle, I got through it, but I had to take a break from Persona 3 Reload, the what is it, the 37th time that's been ported, to be able to put that aside so I can do Rebirth. But I'm honestly at this point at 67 hours in to Rebirth and being done with that, I'm going to be very happy to get back to Persona. And remember, I'm Mr. Final Fantasy. But Persona's got the turn-based battle system, and me being an old dog myself, I definitely I feel like I almost prefer that. Feral, what are your thoughts with 6's battle system compared to not just Final Fantasy, but other similar turn-based games?
I guess this is where I'm going to start gushing a little bit. So, man, Final Fantasy VI's battle system is probably one of it, besides the character development piece of it, is one of its highlights, really. For me, like the difficulty was, I think, just spot on. It had its tough parts for sure. I remember the first time getting to Atma Weapon, or as we know as Ultima Weapon now. But man, the first time getting to Atma Weapon was like this thing was like as big as the screen. I was like, is this the final boss? Like, what is this thing?
When you land on the floating continent, the difficulty spike with the enemies was enormous. And then a weapon himself was even harder still.
Oh, for sure. For sure. It was a very difficult area, but not like, oh man, I don't want to play anymore. It's like, oh, I want to get better. And the customization in Final Fantasy VI, which is also ties into the character development, the characters are so unique and diverse in terms of the abilities they can do. I think one problem with it, and you can choose not to do this, is that the only problem is that they all can learn magic. And so magic kind of, it gets diluted in terms of its like how special it is. That's one little area of weakness there. But they have all these cool, really unique things, like there's Saban's Blitz, where you're doing Street Fighter moves in a Final Fantasy turn-based game. Like you're doing quarter circle turns and all these different like Street Fighter type moves because he's a brawler. You got Edgar with his tools. You got, obviously Locke with, stealing Celis with her runic, where she can absorb magic abilities. They all Realm with her sketch. That was so cool. Like sketch the enemies. Gao, where he can grab the enemies from the veldt and learn their abilities. Gogo, who can just pretty much do whatever he wants to do almost, besides morph, but which was Terra, she can turn into an Esper, which was okay. That's a little understandable. Gogo can't do that, but besides that, the guy was a beast. There's so many cool things about the battle system, and then as hard as it was, like there were so many ways you could break it. There's things that they put in the game, so like you could like a lot of enemies you could. There was a trick where you could cast Vanish on them, and then cast X Zone, or there was Doom, where it's instant death. But if you cast Vanish, your magic defense goes to nil, and you can just send them into another dimension. The Dragon Ball Z reference here, which we used to be like, hey, we're going to send you to another dimension.
Send them to the home of infinite losers.
Yeah, for sure. But like you'd even have weapons where like there was like I remember Shadow's weapon was the assassin's, I think, dagger. I think it was called assassin's knife, and it was cool because it would automatically delete an enemy randomly. But like if it did it against an undead enemy, it would actually bring them back to life with full HP. So you had to be careful with what you used it on. So there were so many weapons, so many cool things. There was a few little letdowns with it, like in terms of, like I said, the magic, whereas it gets a little diluted only because in terms of how special it is. Whereas other games were like, hey, only certain characters have magic. And the Coliseum. The Coliseum was a little. I love the Coliseum, but it's a little bit of a letdown that you couldn't control your character.
Yeah,
that was a little annoying, especially when you had known a lot of magic, and your character sitting there casting Imp, or it's casting Ink, or whatever, or Darkness, whatever it was called in Final Fantasy VI. Where it's like, okay, you're doing all these things where like all these random moves that aren't gonna like win me this battle.
Yeah, it's interesting how the system is, and it's funny how much we like the battle system for 6, but for me, I still feel the extra dungeons on the Game Boy Advance and iOS mobile versions were just still so superfluous. And like you're getting more of a good thing. You're getting all this extra time with the game and its battle systems, especially the second dungeon where you literally go through every single enemy of the game, all the bosses, including all of the super bosses. But it was just still like, okay, is it such a thing where it overstays its welcome? You know what I mean? Like we've had 40 hours with it. We've done everything with the story and everything. It's time to move on. Let's do another thing. And yeah, I don't know. I just felt like it was just too much there. You mentioned gushing. Well, we're gonna touch upon the music and soundtrack because I want to hear your guys' thoughts on that. But the score for Final Fantasy VI was done by the venerable Nobuo Uematsu. It's absolutely stellar masterwork, and it nearly transcends its medium on the original console, and which I believe it does fully so on the Pixel remaster. There could be an argument of the Pixel remaster possibly succeeding any previous version because just with the soundtrack alone. Hardicus, what are your thoughts, gushings, praise that you want to heap on the Final Fantasy VI and its soundtrack?
Oh, the soundtrack was excellent. You and I went and saw one of the orchestras, and it's just fantastic hearing that kind of stuff live action and in the game.
Yeah, you me and Jason the 13th, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, it was such an excellent time hearing that kind of stuff, and not just 6, but almost all the Final Fantasies have had some really good music. The opera scene always sticks in my head as being a, mimicking singing with, not having any kind of voice recording. I again was a teenager when I played it, but still to this day think it was awesome.
Yeah, they did a really phenomenal job with the limitations of the time, the technology, and everything like that. Jamie Owls, sort of a parallel to that, because you have a real fine appreciation for video game music. Not only have you joined me on a number of these concerts, but you've also like a lot of the music too. What would you say and you don't have to limit to like Final Fantasy VIII, but like, what is one of your favorite video game soundtracks that I could say is probably one of my favorites, being sixes. What's one of your favorites?
Are we still talking about the whole Final Fantasy, or
No,
can I
you
just...
you don't have to limit yourself to Final Fantasy. Like, just in general, like what would be one of your favorite game soundtracks?
Ooh, I think the Donkey Kong Country soundtrack was very like, if I want to meditate, I can use that music if I want to. But I have to agree with all the Final Fantasy music soundtrack for the games are absolutely beautiful. Um, the composers did an amazing job with creating the songs for the games, and I just, it's just going to the concerts with you when they were performed in Chicago, and it just sounds like the real live game, but it's like live music, which I find fascinating. It's just so beautiful. Like, you get immersed into the songs and you just get so emotional. Like, it's like, I find it amazing. And also too, all the Mario tunes, all the little happy tunes I always like.
Nice. Um, Feral, how about you with six? What are your thoughts or gushings about six's soundtrack?
Yeah, the gush fest continues over here in the Feral game room. So, uh, yeah, the soundtrack is amazing. Right from the beginning, I'm trying to, I've been trying to think since you asked the question. I was like, man, is there a bad song in here? I don't think there is. Everything just relates so well to the game. Uh, the boss theme is absolute one of my favorite boss themes in a game. I love the boss theme, and it gets you pumped. Like, like when the boss theme hits, like, oh, am I at a boss? No, you're at a boss, and you better like get ready because this guy's gonna come at you, and he's gonna come at you hard. The boss theme is absolutely amazing. I haven't played the game in years. I still have it in my head. That people always talk about the opera scene, which is awesome. I love the opera scene. But one thing people don't talk about the opera scene is the part where you're actually playing in the opera scene, where you're actually going into the rafters, and the music is like it's like just this high octane, pumped up music where it's like you have like a 3-minute time limit to get to the rafters and save the day, and it's like dun 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 dun, dun. It's like, oh man, I better get going. It doesn't stop. Like when you go to a new battle, like, oh wait, we don't got battle music. No, that's like this high energy music that's like got you like on the edge of your seat, and like totally like, man, like oh man, am I gonna make it? I don't know if I'm gonna make it. Get there in time to save the day. I loved that part. That music's really stuck with me. I remember, the World of Ruin. I it fit very well. The very first song, the overworld theme, is like, it's this desolation. Like, there's like, is life even a thing anymore? It's not the greatest song in the world, but then like you find a few of your friends and you get the airship and you're coming out of the water, and the new Finding Friends theme song comes out, and oh man, like I got goosebumps right now thinking about it. Like I got the first time I like played it, but I was like, oh man, like this is amazing. Like I was like, yeah, let's go find Cyan, let's go find Realm, let's go find Terra, let's go find all these people. I was pumped. I didn't want to put the game down. I remember it was late at night too. I was like supposed to be getting ready for bed as a kid. I'm like, nope, we're playing all night. We're finding our friends.
Yeah, I remember that too, because like when I remember I got home from some sort of ham radio get together that I went with my dad to one of his friend's house, and I just beat the Dullahan at Daryl's Tube. I got the ship, and it was like 11 p.m. at that point, and I'm like, I'm not getting any sleep tonight. It's not happening. And I think I found like two more people, and I think I did finally go to bed like at like 3 a.m. or something like that, because it's just like just the sort of like emotion and feeling that the soundtrack itself has, and it can sort of make you feel just based on that. My hot take regarding the boss theme, because you mentioned it, my hot take is that Final Fantasy VI's boss theme is the best boss theme in the entire Final Fantasy series, 1 through 16. It's the best one, and I'm saying that fully acknowledging my nostalgia goggles and fully acknowledging that this is my favorite game, and I am not being, I am, what is it? Totally being, or no, I am not being objective. The balloons are flying, and in case you're seeing that on YouTube. There's no objectivity. That's total nostalgia goggles. But yeah, I think 6's boss scene by far the best there. I gotta mention one of the memories. Another one of the memories I have with 6 is when I first played. I did so with my buddy Ray back. It was almost right when it came out in the fall of '94, and I was only like 11 years old. We named all of our characters after ourselves. I named myself Locke, even before knowing he'd end up being my favorite character of all time. Although that's probably maybe that's self-fulfilling prophecy. My buddy Ray, we named him after Edgar. And I mentioned it before in other videos on this and other channels, but it was the first time 6 or 3 US. It was the first time I'd beaten an RPG out of my brothers, especially my older brother, rest his soul. So it was a thing where it's another one of those sort of like passing on the mantle or passing the torch sort of thing. So it's another reason why like the game means a lot to me. So I'll ask you guys, Feral, Hardicus, and Jason the 13th, your favorite memories of this century, and then Jamie Owl's Simbu Storm, you're probably one of your favorite memories for a video game. But let's start with I'm gonna be a pain in the butt. Jason the 13th. What is your favorite memory with Final Fantasy VI, if you have one?
Can't think of a particular memory. Like I said, I had it on the Game Boy, so
How
it
about
was a
how about
travel.
a general Final Fantasy one? Is it the Cloud Zack thing or?
Yeah, there's the general Final Fantasy. There's two main ones. I don't know if that's a favorite memory. It
Okay.
is most annoying, and it's the reason I don't name characters random names anymore, because back in school, and as I said before, when playing Final Fantasy VII, I was writing a story for school, and I named Cloud Zack out of all the names to name him. And then you get to the point where you learn about Zack and all his background, and you're going, what the heck is going on with this game? Yeah, I had to watch my brother play through the whole part to understand the whole story there.
That's
But
too.
my other favorite part was I killed the Final Fantasy X game so bad that anyone that started that game handed me the remote so I could beat the very first Blitzball game, which is nearly impossible to beat.
Nice. And that is too funny, especially because like that was the one thing that I didn't do is I didn't touch Blitzball at all when I did 10, and I put in like 120 hours. I got all of the master weapons, ultimate weapons
Yep.
except Waka's.
Yep, that is the only thing I missed, and that was a random tournament drop item, and I was killing it, and I just never could get lucky enough to get it.
200 thunder strikes avoided in a row is this idiot
Yep.
right here. A less than zero time for a Titus in the Chocobo race. Yep, that's
Yep.
this idiot here. Hardicus, how about you? What's your favorite Final Fantasy VI memory?
There's so many good ones. I think I don't know if it's a favorite, but it's the one that has always stuck with me. And I said it earlier, is when the bad guy wins. I mean, when Kefka changed the world from the world of light to the world of dark, that was such a, just to me, monumental moment, that it's like I had not seen that really in any other games up to that point, and it has stuck with me throughout the ages of just being, wow, like the bad guy won. Like, to me, that was such an awesome thing. And 7, as when we talked about it a couple weeks ago with 7, having a character death, that was such a monumental moment too. So I mean, Final Fantasy pushes that
Oh yeah.
so much better than any of the other RPGs that I've played. I mean, granted, I haven't played them all, so there's tons of them out there yet to play. But yeah, it would be the switch from World of Light to the World of Ruin is probably the biggest event.
Nice. Yeah, and Farrell, how about you? If you're up to it, feel free to indulge us one of your favorite personal memories with Final Fantasy VI.
Oh, I got a lot. I'm sitting here trying to pick which one I want to talk about. um, you know, there's so many memories I got with this game, especially with my brother. Even recently with, reacquiring some of the Final Fantasy stuff, even reacquiring my cartridge that I thought was lost. My brother had it. But for me, one of the coolest things I did was when you get to Atma Weapon, I remember, or Ultima Weapon as we now know it, but when you get to Atma Weapon, it said something about like it being like made of pure magic and all that. And that's like, if he's made of pure magic, I wonder what would happen if I drained him of all of his magic. So I had all my characters learn Osmos, which steals magic points. And I think it took about 45 minutes. But after 45 minutes of drain and scan every once in a while to figure out how much MP he still had left, which was a lot, he actually he perishes.
Yep.
So if you drain him of all of his magic, he actually goes away. I was like, yes, it worked.
Yeah,
as a kid exploring, like trying new things out. That for me, that was really cool to do that. It was I think my second or third time going through the game. I was like, he said he's made of pure magic. Let me go ahead and try to just like zap him of all of his magic, and it worked.
And perspective wise,
That's really cool.
the Atma weapon has 25,000 hit points and 25,000 magic points. And regular attacks, normal hit point attacks, could do anywhere from like 500 to 2,000 hit points of damage against the boss. That spell, Osmos or Rasp, like
Rasp,
it
yes,
only
that's the one I use. Rasp.
it only does like 50 to 250 magic points down. And that's if you're using somebody like Terra or Celeste that has high for its time magic points. So like that's a lesson in persistence right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rasp. I used Rasp because it was a little bit more damaging than Osmos. So I used Rasp, and then I'd use Osmos to get the magic back when I started running out of magic. It's all coming back to me like 30 years later.
Although not as persistent as somebody getting Terra, Locke, and Edgar up to level 99 when first reaching South Figaro in the World of Balance. Yeah, that's something. That's what is that? Persistence, obstinance, boredom. You take your pick.
Again, who hurt you?
You know who hurt me.
That's on like the same level of my buddy growing up in high school. We were talking when we met in high school, so we connected with Final Fantasy games and Breath of Fire and all that. And he told me about he got like Edward from Final Fantasy IV for whatever reason, which is towards the very beginning of the game. He got him up to like level like 78 or something like that. I was like, why? He's like, I wanted the level 99 Edward, but eventually I gave up around level 78.
Oh yeah, and he at level 99, he has like the lowest hit points out of any of the characters, even lower than Tella the Sage, I think, if I'm remembering right. It's crazy. So more broader, Jamie Owls, what is one of your favorite personal memories to a video game? If you have a Final Fantasy one, like general, feel free to share, but
I do actually, and I was just thinking about Final Fantasy VIII, which that's the only one I played. I played 10, but Final Fantasy VIII, I had been in the 8th grade when I played that for the first time. It was actually my cousin who got me into it because I was at their house and he showed me a couple of his games and I was watching him play and I fell in love with it. But my favorite memory from that game was the scene where Squall rescues Renoa from the coma, that she was in that type of machine, and then he cuts her down, and then that cut scene where they embrace. It's like, oh my God, I fell in love with it. Like I love a good love story, and so that scene just like really like made me tear up, and especially towards at the very end after the cutscene from fighting the final boss when Squall and Renola were outside and she points up at like the shooting star and then like again they embrace. So that's my personal favorite video game memory or moment. So
Nice. That's a good one. Although
Yeah.
I don't know if I should be sad or not. The Susan Calloway one. That
Oh
was
yeah.
there.
Yeah, the song too.
Uh, Simbu, how about you? What's one of your favorite personal video game memories?
So other than straddling Wolverine and slapping the crap out of him in the Deadpool game, um, because you could just keep going for a long time and you just start talking about, it's just it's a hilarious little scene. I'm gonna have to go back to the original Xbox, and that would be Halo 2. The
Oh.
first time you meet the hunters, when we're in town, and the hunters come around the corner for the very first time. You see them, and "Blow Me Away" by Breaking Benjamin starts playing.
Hmm.
So the song "Blow Me Away" is playing for that hunter battle right there. That has got to be one of my all-time favorite gaming memories. And of course, there's always the Master Chief wakes up and "I need a weapon."
I'm surprised that the what is it? Our dueling sword battles didn't rate as one of your favorite personal memories.
Well, that is there, but everyone is talking story gameplay wise memories. So I figured I would follow suit. But yes, as far as all-time greatest memory is going to be Inferno Fox and Simbu Darkfang in an endless sword clash on Halo 3.
Yeah, that's right. And until Mobster's friend then throws the grenade and kills us both. The jerk. Storm, how about you? What is one of your favorite video game memories that you got?
One of them would be one of the very first times that I played Friday the 13th. Getting to go around the cabin, being a huge fan of that franchise, and getting to see everything that was on that map was fantastic. And being scared out of my mind because someone else is Jason and was hiding and got killed. I mean, that was seeing the one kill that he did to me was great. So I didn't mind dying because I got to, he used one of his special kills. So that was fun. And then after that, I'd like playing Jason more because I didn't want to be a camp counselor and die. I wanted to go chase them. So that's just that overall, that game I love. And sad face, of course, because it's no longer being supported and all that bojazz. But yeah, Friday the 13th, just one of the first times that I got killed, and it may have actually made me scream because I wasn't expecting Jason to be there, and then the kill was fantastic. So
Nice. Yeah, it's really funny how we have a lot of these personal memories associated with these games, and like I'd mentioned throughout the cast here, 6 really has a lot of those personal memories for me. Really on a general sense, it has been 30 years. The Pixel Remaster one is the newest one that's available on all major consoles except Xbox. Sorry, Microsoft fans, but you can play it on Microsoft Windows through Steam. If you got a PC, you can do it that way. Um, my hot take sauce, another hot take with it is I think the Pixel Remaster version is the best version. It is better than this one. This one was the best version, the original OG on the SNES cartridge. Even with all the extra stuff on Game Boy Advance. I still think I do think the Pixel Remaster one is the best, even with a couple little omissions here and there. Feral did make a really good discussion point in regards to an important scene regarding a character being introduced, but there's just so much that's gained. It's sort of you have that one loss, but there's so many other gains like the soundtrack. The soundtrack, it really helps to make the game. This is how the game is kind of sort of meant to be heard, and hearing that boss theme, but with like the guitar riffs and everything like that, hearing the crescendo rising with the Searching for Friends theme as it plays, as the Falcon rises from the depths, literally signifying the rising of the Phoenix. just all that sort of stuff. And hearing Locke's theme as the heroic interpretation as it was meant to be, this really gives rise to the Pixel Remaster really being the best version. So that's my hot take. That's my hot take sauce. Jason the 13th, you'll find that out when a certain friend or family member or somebody gets you a physical copy of that at some point. So somebody might be thinking of you. Hardicus, I definitely recommend giving that a try and adding that to your backlog. Feral, I hope you would be really cool if you were to live stream it and play it through that way. That would be fun to see, because you can purchase each of these individually on the Switch, Sony PlayStation Shop, and PC Steam. And Storm, if you are interested in the story, again, it's available there, and there are modifiers to make the game more palatable.
That's
So
awesome.
It
Less
is
dying.
yes.
Yes, it is funny to hear that they added a quote unquote cheat shop from my Disgaea into Final Fantasy.
Yeah, and when the game originally released on PC, because it went there first, it didn't have any of those modifiers or anything like that. Then when it released on consoles, they added it there, and then like it took them 6 months to do an update to then add it to PC Steam. So
Nice.
there you are. But so that's been Final Fantasy VI, my favorite game of all time. Today is the 30-year anniversary, and huge thank you to FeralInferno for joining us here. You can catch FeralInferno on his YouTube channel of the same name for live gameplay and content. Feral, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. Love one of my favorite games growing up. One of my game of the years, 1995 game of the year here. Played this all year, 1995, even going to 1996, preparing for the N64. So there's a lot of great memories of this. So anytime I have an opportunity to gush about Final Fantasy 3/6, I'm always happy to do so. So thank you so much for having me. This was a blast. Thank you.
Definitely. And of course, a huge thanks again to our wonderful cast and crew. As mentioned, their various channels where available are in the description section of the podcast or YouTube section. Simbu Darkfang is going to be hosting his Scurry Face, which is on twitch.tv/scurryface_official. Again, link in the description. Really recommend that for some excellent WWE 2024 or 2K24?
2K24.
Thank you so much. It's 2K24 content. He and his buddies got their own custom league with their custom characters. It's a lot of fun. Recommend that you check that out. Jason the 13th is going to be releasing some more gameplay video for Pokemon, some shiny hunting. A lot of fun to check that out. And last but not least, I'm really looking forward to this. We got favorite video games on the Stormrosesky channel. So definitely recommend checking that out. And finally, thank you to the audience as well for joining. We will be reconvening again in 2 weeks. We're taking next week off. I am giving everybody, they did such a good job here. I'm doubling their pay and giving them a week off. So we will catch you in 2 weeks.
You guys got paid?
No.
We wish.